How you doing?
Hey,
What do you think?
I like that question.
You want to talk about it real quick?
Um, sure. I'm in the
When it
medical field,
when it comes
so.
stand right here. As much as I got you in frame. All right. So I'm just asking people. I know that abortion is legal and illegal in some states, but in general, I'm asking: should abortion be illegal in general?
As a student in the medical field and experience as a female, I believe it should be legal in very minimal cases, depending on the severity of the case, especially when the developmental of the fetus is to a certain point. And at that point, I believe the mother still has a say so in carrying the fetus into full development or not. Um, Case by case, it could be a positive thing, it could be a negative thing. Maybe the resources weren't there for their mother, and she believes she doesn't have the enough resources to be there for the child after the child is born. But we do have a lot of resources in the community that are willing to help and advocate for the child's rights after its birth. So there's adoption, there's a lot of more thought to it. What I believe the main question would be is, does the mother have the right to terminate when the fetus is viable? That would be another question.
Where do you said that at a certain point? Where do you draw the line? Like, if you say it should be legal, where do you draw the line at legality?
The legality should be when the fetus is considered to be at almost at full term, or when it's viable outside the mother's womb. So that comes into play once the child is able to breathe on its own. I think that's where we kind of draw the line on the moral values of the female parent at the time. But that's really where we draw the line when that fetus becomes viable to society, to the community, to be able to either C-section or something, when we're able to have that surgery and then the child is able to live. I think that's the concerning part. Where
Do you so in California you're able to have an abortion up until birth? Do you agree with that?
No.
Okay, so then where you draw the line? Like, is it 9 months, 7 months, 8 months? Where you draw the line?
I think that's the thing. Some fetuses do carry some chromosomes or diagnoses of special needs, like Down syndrome or autism.
Are you saying that babies who have Down syndrome should be killed in the womb?
So there's this testing, genetic testing we do while the mother is pregnant, and she's able to verify or come to the conclusion that her child has a birth defect of some kind. I'm not saying that once the mother is aware of the deformity of the fetus, that it should still be legal for her to terminate, even though it's past a 6-month mark where the fetus is able to live outside the womb. That's the question. When it comes to the morals or values of the mother, like I said, there's resources. If she's not willing to care for the child and she wants to terminate the pregnancy after the 6-month period, and it's no longer a case of her well-being or her health that's in jeopardy, but the child's the fetus's health or well-being is in jeopardy, because she doesn't want to continue with the pregnancy, but then she doesn't want to also deliver the baby so then it could live within society with those special needs.
Yeah.
But it's very, very hard with
Yeah.
this question.
So that's what I was trying to figure out. So I'm trying to get clarification. So if the
Mm-hmm.
baby has a birth defect, let's say it had no arms, no legs, or Down syndrome, you're okay with murdering that child? Yes or no?
Uh, before I'm for termination before the viable, like past 6 month mark. Before that, it's okay. After that,
Oh, so 6 months is your cutoff then?
yeah, 6 months.
So
I believe it's
so
6 months.
so you're saying that anything before 6 months you're okay with. After 6 months you're not okay with?
Yeah, I believe it's the 30 weeks or 26 weeks. After 26 weeks, the baby's able to breathe outside the womb. There's a developmental period where the baby is able to, kind of live outside the womb with help. That's where I draw the line of the abortion.
Yeah.
Because genetic testing is done at 4 months or prior.
Yeah.
So we should already know the diagnosis of the fetus and then the well-being or also, the mom's mentality of caring for the child.
Okay.
So
Just real quick, define viability for me.
it's viable, healthy, can live on its own, like medicine is viable for caring or
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned like 6 months, and then before you're not okay with. What if a child born, and then let's say at 5 months, can the mother just go on vacation and leave her 5 months at home?
no.
Why not? What would happen to that child if she did that? If she left on vacation for a month, what would happen to that child? Because you talk about the child being on its own, but a 5 month child who's born can't be on its own if the mother just leaves, right?
When I mean on its own after birth is being able to be active, looking, breathing. When we're looking into being viable at 5 months, then we're looking at development of the child. So at 5 months, obviously, the child cannot care for their own. We start implementing
I'm
independence.
talking about in the womb or out the womb?
Out the womb. You were
Okay.
talking about out the womb?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we start talking about developmental stages after they're being born. So 5 months, they're still in the stage of learning. Let's see, eating, transitioning from either formula or breastfeeding to solid foods. So the mother, if she's not there after 5 months and goes off and leaves the child cannot. We're already starting to learn to eat.
Yeah.
So
You don't think the child doing that in the womb? Because you know that oftentimes baby can react to like the mother's voice, or if she plays music, so they can
Yes.
they can also react to things in the womb. But you're saying that before 6 months, it's okay to take their life, essentially.
before 6 months in the womb.
Yeah. So you say it's okay to take their life.
Before 6 months in the womb, I think it should be legal for the parent to be able to terminate if they want.
Isn't that murder?
No. Medically speaking, the child is not born, so it's still a fetus. It's still, medically speaking, I believe, fetus. There's another term. Fetus is when they're already about after 2.5 months age, when they've already processed or have their limbs. There's another term from before 2 months that they look more like worms and haven't developed certain aspects of their body yet. But after
Worms?
they look like worms. They look like
No, that's
little
not entirely
fetal-
correct. That's actually not entirely. Matter of fact, if you go on Google right now, and you
show
look
you.
up the actual fetal development, it actually shows a chart. And even at 4 months, the child has a heartbeat, got fingers, got toes. It's developing into a
That's
human.
at 4 months, right?
Right, but
We're
even
talking
but
about 2 months.
even 2 months, which is like eighth, ninth week. Even the child still has little fingers, got little toes, got his head, nose, eyes. It's developing into a human being. And you think you want to take that life?
Okay, let's do.
Man, if you type in like 9 weeks, you do 9 weeks, it will show you exactly what the child looks like at 9 weeks. And you'll see like little fingers and toes and the head, nose, and things like that. So you
So
want to take away that life?
so there's still
That's a human right there.
it's still it's not a viable human. When I mean viable, it cannot, if it's detached from the umbilical cord right now at 9 weeks, it cannot survive. It won't be able to survive outside.
But neither will a born baby, because if a born baby at 5 months, mother just leaves, it won't survive on its own. It'll die the same way that you will in the womb if you take the life. So isn't that murder?
If the child that is 5 months and is being left from the mother to go on vacation,
Can't survive on its own, right?
and it cannot survive on its own, we do have community protocols like CPS, the authorities, child welfare.
But let's just hypothetically speaking, like none of them got involved. She just took off and left, and nobody found out until after
Eventually, yeah,
that child would die, right?
if no family is involved and nobody knows of this 5-month-old child at home alone,
So that child can't take care of itself, right?
Right.
So then that's the same thing with in the womb when you say, well, if it's detached, it can't live on its own, but neither can a 5 month child when they're born. So wouldn't that be murder both in and out the womb?
it goes back to the choice of the mother.
The choice to do what?
The mother of detaching from the fetus, from cutting off the supply system.
Yeah. When you just real quick, when you say fetus, what does that mean?
Fetus is just the name of the not the chromosomes, the egg and the spermatozoon that came together and made a fetus.
Fetus is just a Latin word for embryo. It means offspring. It means baby.
Embryo.
Yeah. So all it is just a Latin word for baby. So it is recognizing that it's a human baby. So when we mention fetus, oftentimes fetus, termination, medically, all that stuff, those are all just euphemisms to stray away from the fact that it's murder. Whether a baby at 9 weeks or a baby at 5 months being left on its own, it's still murder either way. So how come we don't recognize it as murder when that's what it is?
It goes back to the choice of the mother, because it's in a person's, health, or it's inside another person, and we technically do not have power over people, correct? And it's more
well, actually we do, because women are making the choices for the unborn baby, so they're given the power to make the choice over people. Do you agree with that?
And that's the choice that they have to make. It's not a no choice or a yes choice. It's an open choice.
The open choice to murder, right?
To terminate.
Which is
after the fetus is born, yes, it's murder.
So
after
the baby's born, it's murder. What about late term abortions? Even though it's a small percent.
That's where I was talking about, where I draw the line after the
then,
viable.
Yeah, so then therein lies my question. Let's say you said 6 months was the cutoff. What makes 5 months to 6 months the difference?
There's a big difference. There's a lot going on, a lot of growth in the fetus. So there's, I think that's where the sounds of the outside world, they're able to, like you were saying. I remember that. Yeah.
What about
after 6 months?
So what about 1 day before 6 months?
Medically, that's the thing.
That's still murder?
Policy, that's where we have to draw our policy as to our speculations, or, they have every right. If I would put in the law, yes, up until the 19th hour of the day, it's still okay, because it's still, we have to, no matter what, we have to put a time and date to everything, a timeline, correct?
So you're okay with like 1 day before 6 months to still be legal? At that point, that child is developing halfway through. So would that not be murder?
It's a hardship. It's a hardship between trying to draw a line between, how would I say it, a time frame, and it's, we do have to put a time frame to things, because if we don't, then just like you said, what if it's 1 day over? then, at least we have that policy of the time frame in there. We cannot terminate after that.
So,
It's the
so you're
same
saying
with
6 months
being
and one day.
before.
So you're saying 6 months and one day don't terminate, but one day before 6 months do terminate. And
Because
what's the difference between the two?
it's just we drew a line of a time frame. That's it. And it sucks because with everything in our world too, with work, with taking the kids to school, or turning in a project on time, we get penalized after that time frame, correct? So
What do you mean you get penalized? What do you mean?
like we can't turn in our project in on time, or if we are late to school, we get deduction of tardiness or absences.
Okay.
We get marked, basically.
Okay.
And it's the same with putting in a policy with legality. We do have to input time frames, and if we don't, then then we get this that we could terminate very late. And we
So how does that correlate? How does that compare to what you're saying with abortion?
basically, if it's so difficult, but like ethics and stuff and policy, if we don't come up with exact time frame or information to kind of support or negate, then we are left with, like you were saying, okay, we either terminate all or we don't terminate at all.
Yeah, that's what. See, that's where I lean. I'm an abolitionist. I don't believe we should kill babies for any reason. I want to abolish abortion across the board. I think that even in cases of like SA or incest, the baby shouldn't be punished for the sins of the father. I think that when those situations do happen, we should mentor women. We should help them out, like reform Planned Parenthood to actually help women out in those cases. There are facilities and organizations that will help out women who do get in those situations, or even the ones who are irresponsible and having sex. There are organizations, like in case the father leaves, there are organizations that would help women out with food, financial, groceries, etc. I just don't think we should take the life of the unborn for any reason. That's just where I stand on it. I do also think that abortion should be criminalized. I think that doctors and women and men who coerce women to go get an abortion should all be criminalized, because it's murder at the end of the day. And the problem is that a lot of pro-choicers will say, or those who support abortion will use euphemisms like termination or medically necessary or fetus and things like that. Even the word abortion alone is a euphemism. It just strays away from the fact that it's taking the life of the unborn. It's murder. Do you agree with that, or?
No, I don't. As a female, and as also an abused woman, and a mother of 6, I can personally tell you that in my last carried child, that she's 6 months old now, but I've come such a long way, and I found so many resources, but in the end, even the 24-hour helpline, it was not helpful. I necessarily struggled through my pregnancy on my own, and going back and forth, should I abort, should I not, should I abort, should I not, for the first 4 months. And after with my personal values and my morals, after 4 months, even though we have the law now that states that after a certain period of time we shouldn't, that law kind of helped me, because I didn't once I got to after 4 months and I was thinking about abortion. I couldn't do it.
Why not? Because
it was illegal at that time. It was like 2 years ago.
So if it was legal, you would have done it?
If it was legal, I don't know at that time. I'm not the same person as I was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
She's 7 months now, and
I'm glad you chose life.
She was what I was missing.
Yeah.
So
just to kind of give like a little my opinion, away from the interview. I think that a lot of women have been programmed and brainwashed to believe that it's okay to murder your baby, because if you look at, like, for example, like Big Pharma, right? I know you're in the medical field, but I'm just saying with Big Pharma.
No, I'm against Big Pharma, so yeah.
Right. So you know how, like, if every person is cured, then Big Pharma has no more customers. If every woman, was responsible and waited till marriage to have children, there'd be no more customers for Planned Parenthood.
Right. Do
you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And especially with the fact that Planned Parenthood targets minorities, and where I live at is majority Black and Hispanics, and Planned Parenthood is like smack dab in the middle, because that's what Black and Hispanics are. So I find it interesting to me that when people talk about like racism and things like that, how do you not find it racist that there's a Planned Parenthood in minority areas that they target? And even though back in 2020, you have more white women who had an abortion, but it was just a 1% higher than Black women. So like 39% of white women had abortions, whereas 38% of Black women had abortions. So even though white women have a slightly 1% higher, they're still targeting minorities. And so how can we be for human rights but then be okay with Planned Parenthood taking the humans in the womb? Does that make sense?
Right. No. You're right on the demographics, because I just did some research, and that slight difference of 1%, the whites have lowered, and now Latinos and African Americans are the most aged demographics in our system.
And I don't know if they're including this into the studies, but if you also look at like illegal immigration, a lot of the times you have like these cartels who will force women to get an abortion. I remember the Huffington Post talked about this during Barack Obama's years, where you had women that come across the borders, and they had these cartels who would basically like abuse women and force pregnancy and forced abortions. Happened here in America. And this is during Barack Obama's administration. It's still happening now, actually. You got a lot of women who are being forced to, like, bring drugs across, getting forced pregnancy, forced abortion. So, like, imagine that, them coming into this country and then being told to go to Planned Parenthood to go abort their children. So it kind of increases the statistics on Latinos or Latinas, I should say, who are having abortions. Do you see what I mean? It's like they're really targeting the minorities. I don't, just on illegal immigration, I don't agree with that. But the taking the life of the unborn, I definitely don't agree with that at all. I believe all life has value, in the womb and out the womb. I just think that it's interesting that women are being told that unaliving your child is better so you can have a career. And then they're saying that to wait until you're older to have children, when your most fertile years are like 18 to like 20, I think, like 27, something like that.
Yeah.
And so the older you get, the less you're
able to carry a healthy.
Yeah. So that's why I mean, it's a whole lot deeper. I don't want to go too much into it because I want to stick to this right here. But it's a way nefarious agenda on why. And I think that a lot of women who believe in it only believe in it because the media told them to, the politicians told them to. You got medical fields who are working with Big Pharma telling you to. So it's like this programming of it's liberating to take a life so you can live your life. You know what I mean? And then what it does, it actually creates mental trauma for the woman who took a life, because now if she has a child, she's going to look at that child and wish she had the other one. And that could be a lot more damaging later on. Even with a woman who's SA'd, she takes the life of that child, and it's still going to be a traumatic. It's like you're, what's it called? Like trauma on top of trauma. It's like she got SA and now she's taking the life of a human being. So that's just double trauma for her.
Yeah. I actually have a similar situation. I've never had an abortion, but I had to take, back in high school, take one of my classmates to Planned Parenthood to get an abortion, and I was actually trying to stop her from that. And whatever her relationship status was at the time, I believe
you took a girl, or she went there?
I took her. It was my friend, and I didn't want her to go alone, and I was not supportive of the option, but one, because it was later on than my term time that I given my moral values, which is like after 4 months or whatever. And
are you Hispanic by any chance?
Yes, I'm Mexican.
Okay, I sorry, I'm going to finish your story. I just noticed that with Hispanics, they're usually a lot more like Christian or Catholic, and they don't really believe in
Catholic.
taking the life of the unborn. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and it's very conflicting with society now and our parents' values now that they've kind of settled in the this world, in this society, this community, because back over there, yeah, you were with the same man, for the rest of your life.
Arranged marriages.
Yeah, I think they did have arranged marriages before my mom. Like her mom was arranged for sure. My grandma. But that's the thing. Back in the day, she would tell me, you're gonna be with this one man, you're gonna have this family, and you just stick with it. Now, after having my son, my 13-year-old, which is not my husband's son, but he, took him in as one of his own. And now we have a child together, my daughter. My mom, at the time that I was pregnant and, having all this trouble and trauma and whatever, it flipped. She was okay with the option. And I was confused because I should have that support, that resource, if I wanted to keep my child, But then since she flipped on me, then I didn't have that family support anymore.
It kind of left you confused, yeah.
And it got me, and then
I
you
can
said,
that, yeah.
we are like, I feel like she got brainwashed over here, that it was an option.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't give me that option,
Yeah.
I wanted.
I know it started in the 70s when they allowed it, and then it got overturned in 2022 when they left it up to the states.
There you go.
Like I said, in California, they allow it up until birth. Places like Idaho, they banned it, but not for exceptions. So me, I'm against it all across the board. I don't think we should take a life at all. I think all life is valuable.
I didn't know we didn't have exceptions here. I thought it was up to the 5.
No. So in California, you can literally have an abortion up until birth. There was actually trying to pass a bill back in 2022 called AB 2223, where they were going to allow abortion after 1 month after birth, essentially. And I think I forget what website it is. It's a California website, but it literally says you can have an abortion at any time. That includes up until birth.
I thought we still had our exceptions. I did not know that.
Yeah, no, California. I don't know if they would ever, if it was ever illegal to have an abortion here, but this is how bad it is in California. Gavin Newsom made California a sanctuary state. So, for example, places like Idaho that don't allow abortion,
don't at all.
except for with the exception, a lot of these red states that ban abortion. If you read the bill, they allow it for exceptions.
Okay.
And a lot of these, matter of fact, even these red states, which I totally agree with. That's why I'm not a pro-lifer no more. They allow even abortion pills. So in places like Idaho, if you go on Planned Parenthood and let's say you're like 4 weeks pregnant, you want to get an abortion pill, you click Idaho, it will tell you that Idaho banned abortion, but you can still get a pill from somewhere else to deliver it to Idaho. And then it allows the pill to prevent it up until 11 weeks. So that pill is still taking a life even for a child that's 2 months in the womb.
Yes, I actually know. So another story, my daycare facilitator where I take my kids, or I used to take my kids, her daughter actually decided to do that medical termination through the pill, and she had major complications.
Yep.
So
Big Pharma, right?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So that's still not good, because that's still murder in my opinion. It's just that now it's in the form of a pill. So what I was trying to say about the states was that, again, like places like California, Gavin Newsom made it an abortion sanctuary state. So in places like Idaho, let's say a woman just gets pregnant just because she had irresponsible sex, she can leave and come over here and have an abortion via taxpayer dollars at any point.
And this is our state right now. Is any terms? Any
Yeah, I forget.
term of the-
I apologize if I forget the website, but if you just type in California abortion, like law or something, it will tell you that you can have an abortion at any point or at any time.
And when you said 2022 is when this started, because I thought
2022 is when Roe v. Wade got overturned to leave it up to the states. It's just that from that time,
now.
yeah, because Buffy Wicks, the assembly member, proposed a bill to allow abortion. They called it people were calling it infanticide, but she was trying to say it wasn't. But they used the term perinatal, which is like 5 months before or 1 month after. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were okay with abortion even after birth.
That's after birth.
Yeah. I mean, the definition of perinatal, that's what that means. 1 month before or 5 months after. And they used that term in the bill to make it legal to have an abortion.
Oh, okay. I did not like that. I am not for that. Like I said, after birth, the child is out and viable and should be given the proper resources if the mother does not want to continue the care for that child.
Have you seen the interview? It's Virginia Governor, what's his name? I forget his name, but Virginia Governor did an interview about abortion after birth. And the way he described killing that child after birth is horrific. On a radio show, he talked about this, how he would make the baby comfortable to essentially take the life. And so my thing is that if people are not okay with late term abortion because they think it's murder, but they're okay with anything before 6 months, that murder doesn't change from up until birth, even at 5 months. It's still murder because the child is developing.
I understand that point of view, and I go back to my whether the child is able to breathe on its own. That's my main thing, and that's where I think 5 to 6 months is the viable date for that fetus to live outside the womb. That's where I do the cutoff. But also, that reminds me, Kamala Harris actually did an interview and posted it on her Instagram a couple weeks ago when she met with a medical practitioner and their patient on abortion, and how this patient, if she didn't receive the abortion, it would cost her life as well.
So see, and I just want to point this out. They do that. They say things like that just to put that fear in women. If you don't get an abortion, it's going to kill you. All it is just fear mongering. Just like with COVID, I can't say anything about COVID because YouTube is sensitive, but it's like what happened in 2020 with the what that came from country. They were saying the same thing. If you don't put a mask on, it's gonna, you know what I'm trying to say, if you don't get the the jabby jab, it's gonna, so it's the same language.
Same with RSV.
Yeah, I see, it's the same language.
I felt like I was pressured. I felt pressured with that, and then too also when you have a 6-month-old and you're thinking of all these shots and immunizations and what to do afterward, the aftercare of having a developmental child going into toddler age, teenage, a mother does become overwhelmed, especially when she doesn't have her support system. And I am understanding of the women that have the same thought while they're pregnant. Like I said, I was there myself in that same situation at 5-6 months, thinking what would be the best for me. But eventually, I'm glad I chose life.
Yeah.
And
if you honestly, I saw I'm trying to go too deep, but if you really want to know who your enemy is, start telling the truth, and you'll see who your enemy is. So I know you are in the medical field here at Sac City. But even they're controlled by Big Pharma, because they'll tell you a narrative and almost kind of like, they'll tell you things so you can do your job. Even if you're against it, it's wrong. Because they'll probably tell you, oh, women can have an abortion, just this. And then you go and do it thinking it's normal. But then you start to realize, I don't like what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And the moment you speak up, watch how fast they just turn on you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I say I think women and men are programmed to believe that taking a life is like liberation, when in reality it's not. So I know you say that before 6 months is okay, but I just don't think it is. I think it's still murder. It doesn't change whether it's after 6 months or the day before 6 months. It doesn't change. It's still murder either way.
Let's ask another important question. What about the father in this question? We're talking so much about the mother and the mother, being the carrier per se, but we've never had the ability to speak on the father's views. And the father.
Well, I did mention earlier that men who coerce women to get an abortion, I think they should be arrested and thrown in jail. I had a guy earlier I just spoke to right before you. He said that the man should, if a woman can go physically abort her baby, the man should financially abort his. should financially abort to be a father. And I said to him, I was like, well, that's on you for having sex before marriage. See, I hold men accountable. And I understand the argument that men should financially abort and women can physically abort. So that, but to me, what it does, it takes both responsibility from both mother and father.
Yeah.
You're choosing to have irresponsible sex, and then you want to shook your responsibilities, so just so you can have more fun. And I don't think it's right, because I think abortion to me is the ultimate hypergamy for women, and it's the ultimate unresponsibility from men. Because it's like, oh, people going to parties going to have drinks. Well, that's your fault for going to a party and drinking that much and then hooking up with somebody. No one told you to drink. No one told you to go have sex. That was your body, your choice in that moment. But once you have another body, it's not either of you guys' choices to take that life. So I hold men accountable just as much as I hold women accountable. The problem is that with abortion, majority of abortions are happening electively rather than selectively. The USA Today talked about this in 2019. You can actually look this up. The USA says that SA and incest are hardly the reason for abortion, and they show you all the stats that majority is elective. So when people say things like, oh, the baby might end up in poverty, well, kids right now, born children are in poverty right now, so should we kill them? Right. If you don't want to kill them, then why should we punish the kids in the womb for having this kind of minority report mindset of like, I think this is going to be like this, therefore we should just take them out? And I don't think that's right.
I was leaning more towards if the mother wants to terminate and the father does not.
Yeah.
That's what I was leaning towards.
And I think that's horrible. I think I agree.
The father should have a right.
I agree. If 50% his DNA,
right?
I totally agree with that. That's sad when that does happen. So there's a video that went viral. People are now saying it's fake. I don't know, but I know there's a situation that does happen where there's this guy who was outside of Planned Parenthood and he was like banging on the door telling his girlfriend not to take the life. People are saying that video is fake. If it was fake, that's unfortunate that they're doing it for views, but that does not take away from the fact that that does happen. Exactly. That there are men who do want their children, and women said, no, I'm going to go anyway, because she wants to just shook her responsibility from being a mother. This is why I say the irresponsibility of having sex before marriage. This is what promiscuity has actually led to. This is why I'm against promiscuity. I'm not perfect. I have my mistakes, but I understand now that promiscuity is not the way to go. All it does is lead to fatherless homes, motherless homes, STDs, abortion, divorces, etc., etc. So I'm against. I'm a Christian too, but I'm against all of that because it just leads to the detriment of society. It's not a net positive; it's a net negative.
So you definitely believe in educating, sex education, and okay, that was my next kind of topic. So. And I think we're starting sexual education in the elementary school now. Yeah. I believe so.
So my opposition to that is I actually oppose sex education when it comes to intercourse. I'm okay with sex education as far as women
anatomy.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, women knowing about their bodies, how to take care of it, men who are not circumcised who should take care of it, all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with the anatomy. I'm just not okay with the physical of intimacy.
I like the separation of education and what the schools should, because then it leads to the promiscuity, right? Yeah. in middle and high school.
They show you like bananas and start putting a condom on a banana. You know, it just make people think, and then you start having teens get thoughts. Next thing you know, you got teen pregnancy. So yeah.
And you know what? That's exactly what happened in my sex education 6th grade class. We started learning about the anatomies, male and female anatomy, but then we did that, and we had to. That's where it started to confuse me.
Now you got all the guys being like, "What's up, girl?"
And that's
and
where
the girls
started.
Are like, "What's up, guy?"
Yes.
You see what I mean? Yeah.
And that's middle school was the pressure of sex and learning teenage pregnancies, and that's where it boosted for me. So okay, if we can have the schools educate properly on just anatomy and physiology instead of the actual sexual intercourse, we should still learn about STDs, the physiology part and anatomy part of the human body. But I believe that's where we should draw the line, because I started feeling uncomfortable. Then you were right, the guy started eyeballing the girls, and the girls had a sense of what are the titles, like jock and cheerleader, and the roles, the female roles, and they take, because then we were at a rise in teen pregnancy for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think we had our ducks in a row with sex education and educating these students, because then teen pregnancy did rise, and then
it's on the agenda. I mean, it goes a lot deeper. I don't want to get into it, but it goes a lot deeper. But there's definitely a nefarious agenda to do that, because again, big pharma / Planned Parenthood needs their customers. So the more people who are having promiscuous sex, the more women can go have an abortion. Matter of fact, even the sexual revolution, I mean, that was the whole point of sexual revolution back in the 60s, 70s, was to get women to be promiscuous and feel like it's liberating to have sex like men do, only to go to Planned Parenthood and say, well, hey, if you have sex and have a kid, just go have an abortion. So that's why I say people don't even understand that part of the history, like why it was even done in the first place.
How did we get here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it goes further back, even with giving women rights to vote. Like, all those things were a nefarious reason. Giving women rights to vote, put them in the workforce so they can tax both women, both men, and when they're out the home, who's watching the child, daycare. It's such a... It's like one thing after another.
Right.
And that's why when I ask this question, should it be illegal? Because a lot of people think it should be, because they go with the my body, my choice argument. Mm-hmm. And then when you mention that the child inside the body is not her body, they still think it should be a choice. And then they go to, like, essay, things like that. So I say, okay, if it was legal just for the exceptions, would it be okay to be illegal for all other elective reasons? They'll go, no, I just want to be her choice. So then the argument of essay doesn't make any sense then, because you're just for abortion at any point. It doesn't matter, because they make the essay argument but then say, well, I still support it even if it was just that and illegal for everything else. So it's like their worldview is inconsistent.
Are mine pretty consistent?
Yours is consistent on where you don't want it at. What I'm trying to I hope to enlighten you on is that the murder doesn't change from 6 months or a day before. It's still murder either way. That's why I would oppose you on that. It's still murder even at 5 months, 4 months, because life begins at conception. You would agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
We start growing the embryo. That's what I was trying to look for. It goes
embryo,
zygote.
then, yeah. All it is is just
zygote, embryo, fetus. There you go.
All it is just stages of development. That's all it is.
That's what you. Yes. But you called it a like abortion is a word of
euphemism.
Euphemism. Okay, and that's the first time I get to step out of the box from the medical field and actually look at it like that. I never thought of everything that I've been learning at school. Their euphemisms to just exactly what actions we're doing.
Yeah.
And
one thing I would say, if I can just encourage you on this, in your medical class, just listen to the language and how they frame things. You know what I mean? So, for example, you look at illegal immigration, right? They'll say things like the people who are coming across the border illegally, they're asylum seekers, they're undocumented, all euphemism to not say illegal aliens.
Got it.
You see what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, whether you're for or against it, it's still the language that they use, because they try to tug at your heartstrings and be like, no, they're undocumented children, they're asylum seekers, but really they're illegal aliens. Because if somebody walked into my house and broke in my house, that's illegal. They're coming into my house.
Correct.
So therefore, if somebody's coming into this country not as a citizen, they're an illegal alien. That's just the technical definition. That's not racist. It's not xenophobic. It's just what they are. You know what I mean?
Yes. I feel the same way, especially with drawing lines like this, telling it what it is, because even though the other person's not comfortable with it, we at least know, hey, this is exactly what it is, and this is, do you want to put a special word on it or whatever, but in the end, like you said, it's still illegal, or it's still it's still call it what it is.
The truth will always sound like hate to those who hate the truth, and that's exactly what it is. That's why I don't try to come out here. I would like to change people's minds. I hope that's the case, but I just want to at least I don't know everything either, but I know enough to know that I'm not okay with taking a life. You know what I mean? So I try to do as much research as I can so I can come out here and actually talk to people and not just kind of do like a gotcha, trying to like get the views or anything like that. I want to have an actual conversation so that people at home who are watching, like I'm on YouTube right now, people at home who are watching this can say, this was a good conversation. You didn't get angry. I didn't get angry. We're not throwing insults. We're actually having a conversation. And that can encourage somebody and go, wow, like he's saying something, she's open-minded to it, and that might change their minds, And if I put this out on my social media platform, I got 18,000 followers on Twitter, 12,000 followers on Instagram, 4,000 on Facebook, 9,000 on YouTube. If I put this out there, people can see that and then be inspired by that and go, wow, that was a good conversation that they had. It might make them change their mind to look into it as well. So I hope I can enlighten you with some stuff.
I'm definitely going to keep this research in mind. I'm definitely, because like I said, I'm going into the medical field. This is one of the big part, next to cancer. So and cancer right now is a big topic in the medical field, and trying to do the preventive measures for that. But like you said, this is what's going on in our society, in our state, and it should definitely be talked about. And I will definitely cherish this conversation, and I will continue to go to school and look out for those euphemisms.
Yeah, and also too, they might try to use that against you too. They might try to say, well, if she has cancer and she's pregnant, she should abort her child. It's with cancer. There's a woman last night on the podcast I just watched who said she had cancer, and the doctors pretty much told her to abort her baby so that it can save her from the cancer. She dealt with it, had her pregnancy, and her cancer ended up going away after that.
Yeah, I've also had some cases where they could do the surgery while the fetus is still in the womb and have no, problem going around the womb. Or even we have surgeries today that we do surgeries on the fetus while they're still in the womb, and we still put them back in their sac and everything, and they're fine, and they get to develop and come out of the birth canal just fine. Yeah. It's definitely something we should draw a line and talk about, and hopefully, since we're going to vote, you get to change some views and we get to see it. And
I hope so. We'll see what happens. What's your name again?
Imelda.
Imelda.
Yes.
Julius. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You can find me on YouTube at Today with Julius.
Okay, I got you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you too. Thank you.
Take care. And
by.
Yeah, and good luck too in the field.
Thank you.
Yep.
I will. Thank you.